Welcome to the deep dive. So you've given us this great stack of sources, articles, research, even your own notes, all focused on RV gate guarding. Today we're diving into all of that, looking specifically at how it applies to your situation, retired, debt-free, RVing couple domiciled right here in Texas.
Exactly. And our mission is pretty clear. We're going to use only the information you provided. We'll pull out the really crucial insights, lay out the benefits that seem clear, but also dig into those less obvious challenges mentioned in your material. The goal is to help you figure out if gate guarding feels like the right move for you.
Okay, let's get started. Based on these sources, what exactly is RV gate guarding?
Well, basically, the material describes it as managing access, providing security for remote sites, in places like oil wells, construction zones, ranches. I even saw solar farms mentioned. You're the point person for who comes and goes.
Right, and the duties described sound pretty specific. It's not just waving people through, is it?
Oh, definitely not. The sources really stress being meticulous. You're logging every vehicle, checking driver IDs, sometimes getting DOT numbers off trucks, even taking photos of vehicles or what they're carrying sometimes.
And physically opening gates, directing traffic.
Yeah, and keeping an eye out for safety issues, anything suspicious that needs reporting. It's about observation.
I saw notes about uniforms too, like fire-resistant gear, hard hats.
Yes, sometimes, especially that fire-resistant clothing in energy sector jobs. Though it sounds like companies often provide some stuff like branded shirts or vests.
Got it. And a key point that kept coming up in your sources. Guards are usually unarmed. They're not law enforcement.
That's crucial, yeah. The material makes it very clear. Your job is watching and reporting. You're there for access control, following the rules, and you tell the security company or maybe local authorities if there's an issue. You don't handle it yourself.
Okay. And for a couple like you, the setup described is a two-person team, living right there on site in your own RV.
That's right. And the absolute core thing, according to these sources, is that someone from the team has to be awake, has to be responsible for that gate. 24/7.
Right, that 247 thing. Your material suggests that can be misunderstood. It's 247 on call, maybe not 247 active work. Can you break that down?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction the sources make. The workload isn't constant. Not at all. It can fluctuate wildly. Some sites are described as super slow, very little traffic. Others can be very busy. And that can change day to day, depending on what's happening at the site.
So you're not expected to be standing out there the whole time, rain or shine.
No, generally not. The info you gave suggests you can usually stay inside your RV. You just come out when a vehicle shows up. Logging them in is usually quick seconds, maybe less than a minute.
Your sources even called the job very relaxed and not very laborious.
Exactly. The compensation, it seems, is more about your presence, your availability there on site, not so much about constant physical work.
Which means downtime, potentially a lot of it. Your sources mention plenty of time for reading, hobbies, TV, maybe even a side gig, if it doesn't interfere.
Right, and that's the mental shift needed. You're paid for being available. You're technically on duty 24/7, but you're not actively working most of that time. Getting your head around that seems key.
And for a couple sharing that responsibility living in the RV, that must have a unique impact.
Oh, absolutely. The sources point out that, yeah, one person can usually leave for errands, groceries, whatever, but both people can't leave the site together, ever. So that means constant communication, figuring out schedules, being okay doing things independently sometimes.
Yeah.
It definitely tests how well you live together in a small space when one of you is always on. One source you shared put it bluntly, didn't it? Said you need to really love your partner and that it's not for everyone.
Yeah, that stood out. So given all that, why do your sources say this is so popular with full-time RVers like yourselves?
Well, the main appeal, reading through your materials, is pretty clear. It lets you earn money while you're living the RV life. It directly supports that travel and exploration goal. And the jobs themselves are often seasonal or short-term, like 30 to 90 days seems typical. That fits the nomadic style.
And then there's the really big one, the perk mentioned over and over in your sources.
The FRE RV site with full hookups. That's the headliner.
That sounds like a massive financial plus. What's usually included with that site?
The info you provided lists fresh water, power, and if there's no shore power, they often supply a generator and the fuel for it. Plus, waste removal. The honey wagon service if there's no sewer hookup, trash pickup, sometimes even mail delivery right there to your RV.
Wow. So for an RV, that just wipes out huge costs. Campground fees, what, $20, $50, even $100 a night sometimes?
Yeah.
That adds up to hundreds, maybe thousands a month, plus propane, generator fuel.
Exactly. And think about this. Your RV is right there. No commute,
Right.
Saves fuel money, saves wear and tear on your truck. It's another hidden saving.
And the work itself, your sources frame it as, well, pretty straightforward. Simple, low labor, no super specialized skills needed beyond being literate, observant, and using a tablet.
So pulling it all together, especially for you being debt-free, this whole package, earning income plus getting that free site and utilities, it's a huge financial advantage. Your living costs plummet, which means the money you earn goes much further, either boosting savings or funding travel. It brings a kind of predictability and stability that's really valuable, especially for preserving retirement funds.
Okay, let's keep it balanced. What do your sources say are the specific pros and cons for a retired couple like you?
All right, let's take through the advantages listed in your material. First, financial. This comes up again and again. The income potential is substantial. Figures like $4,500 to $6,000 a month for a couple seem common. Daily rates vary, $125 to over $300. J&G Security often mention around $200 a day. One note you had mentioned $4,000 every 32 days. But the real kicker is combining that income with the drastically lower expenses. Free site, free utilities, no commute. Your sources gave examples, one couple saving over $8,000 in 9 weeks, others paying off debt. For you, being debt-free, it just means incredible stability, preserving funds, enabling travel.
What about the physical side?
Low physical demands, that's highlighted as a big plus, especially for retirees. It's described as simple, relaxed work checking IDs, logging, opening a gate, not strenuous.
And travel.
Travel opportunities, it's built in. Those short assignments, 30 to 90 days usually, minimum 30. Let you work, bank some money, and then take off for a longer travel break. Fits that RV wanderlust perfectly.
And the downtime we mentioned.
Yeah, quiet time. At the slower gates, your sources say there's plenty of it. Good for reading, hobbies, maybe that side project, as long as you're ready when someone pulls up.
Okay, now the flip side. The challenges your sources raise. That 24/7 availability. The split shifts. That sounds tough.
It is. The 24/7 availability and split shifts, that's probably the biggest lifestyle adjustment. One person always has to be awake, alert, responsible. It means coordinating schedules very carefully, managing sleep, disrupting maybe normal routines you're used to. It takes work.
And the locations themselves.
Often very remote locations. In the middle of nowhere is a phrase used in your material, usually tied to energy operations, so West Texas, South Texas, access to stores, services, socializing. It's limited.
And if it's slow.
Potential for boredom. Definitely. If you hit a really slow gate, you need to be good at entertaining yourself, finding things to do. Self-sufficiency is key. Then there's the weather extremes. It's Texas. Your sources mention serious heat, like 100+ degrees for weeks on end. Cold snaps too, nights dipping into the 20s potentially.
Yeah.
Wind, rain, you've got to be prepared to handle it all. Staying hydrated is mentioned as critical.
And the impact on doing things together as a couple. Your sources flag that.
Big one. You cannot leave the site together, typically.
Yeah.
One person has to stay. So running errands, going shopping, sightseeing, it's usually a solo mission. That could be tough if one partner doesn't drive or really dislikes being alone out there.
And the job hopping requires a certain attitude.
Absolutely. A need for flexibility. Job sites can change often. Relocating sometimes with just a few days' notice. One source mentioned 5 days in one spot, then needing to move. You really need that open road, open mind outlook that J&G talks about. Be ready to roll. Oh, and environmental annoyances. Dust seems like a constant companion at many sites. Wildlife encounters, too. Mice, ants, sure, but also things like wild hogs, rattlesnakes, scorpions. Need to be aware.
And finally, safety concerns.
Yes, vigilance is huge. Your notes mentioned keeping eye contact with drivers to avoid accidents. Safety is always, always priority one. So, summing up the relationship pressure from your sources, remote setting, 24/7 on call, can't leave together. It puts a strain on things, requires top-notch communication, managing shifts, personal space, figuring out errands. That source saying it's not for everyone really hit home.
Okay, let's shift to the nitty-gritty, the money, startup costs. What do your sources say you need to budget for initially?
Well, specifically for Texas, the main thing is licensing and background checks. You need that Texas Level 2 non-commissioned security license. Looks like it's about a 6-hour on-law course plus fingerprinting. The license itself is under $100. Total for a couple, including background checks and drug tests, which your notes say run about $30 to $90, plus each probably comes in under $200 total.
Okay, what about equipment beyond the RV itself?
Several things are strongly recommended in your materials. Driveway alarms or sensors. These seem almost essential for knowing when someone's approaching. About $65 each, and you probably need a few, so maybe budget $130 to $260. Then internet. Described as crucial for these remote spots, Starlink is mentioned as very popular. Hardware cost is $349 to $499. Service runs $50 to $165 a month, but it often has a pause option, which is handy.
Safety gear.
Companies provide some uniforms, but your sources suggest you might want extra fire-resistant shirts, maybe $50 each, so $100, $200 for the couple.
Yep.
And then just general RV essentials: surge protector, water filter, leveling blocks, stuff you likely have, but maybe budget $300, $700 just in case for upgrades or replacements.
So adding that up, the table in your notes put the estimated initial investment somewhere between what? Roughly $1,100 and $2,100.
Yeah, around $1,079 to $2,059 based on those figures you provided. And it's worth repeating. While good internet and alarms might not be strictly required by every company, your sources basically say they're investments you'll be really glad you made for efficiency and just sanity out there.
Makes sense. Okay, income potential. What's the typical range?
Daily pay for a couple seems to be in that $125 to $300 plus range. J&G's baseline, often mentioned as $200 a day. Monthly, that translates to roughly $4,500 to $6,000 for the team. The material notes it can fluctuate based on site traffic, weather, even oil prices impacting activity.
Your sources also clarified something about calculating an hourly rate based on 24/7 duty, saying it can look misleadingly low.
Right. That calculation doesn't really fit this model, according to your info. You're paid for availability and presence, not continuous active work. For retirees especially, the key metrics are that daily rate and the huge savings on living expenses, not some theoretical hourly wage that counts all the quiet hours. Exactly. That impact on the monthly budget is huge. How does gate guarding change typical RV expenses, based on your sources?
Fundamentally, that free site with full hookups, water, power, generator fuel, waste, trash, mail, it just eliminates several major budget lines for RVers. Your sources use phrases like very little living expenses, no commuting. It's a massive shift.
So what are the main variable costs left?
Based on your notes, fuel for your Explorer, but likely less than usual since you're not driving between campgrounds. Food, maybe $500,000 a month, seems like a common estimate. Insurance and registration for the RV and truck, say 100, 200 mothers for the RV. Maintenance and repairs budget, maybe $100, $200 a month, plus keep a separate fund, especially with a 2008 rig. Internet, if you go with Starlink, $5,100 to $65. And then personal spending, maybe $200, $400. The budget table you had estimated total monthly expenses, somewhere between $1,050 and $2,165 for everything.
Okay, let's circle back to your specific situation being debt-free. How does that amplify this whole picture? Oh, it's a game changer. Owning your Jayco and Explorer outright, no mortgage, no land payments, you have zero major fixed housing costs. Combine that with the low variable cost of gate guarding, and basically all the income you earn is either discretionary or goes straight into savings. It creates this incredibly stable, low overhead financial setup, very different from traditional living or even typical RVing with rig payments. It gives you huge flexibility, resilience. You can afford longer breaks, travel more, build savings without that monthly payment pressure. It's a powerful position.
Okay, equally important. Employment status and taxes. How are guards usually classified?
Most companies, and your sources specifically mentioned J&G does this, classify guards as 1099 independent contractors, self-employed.
Right. And what does that mean practically, according to the material?
It means you're essentially running your own little business, operating independently, using some of your own gear, though companies provide key things like the logging tablet. You have autonomy in choosing assignments within that 24/7 availability framework.
But there's a trade-off.
Big one. No employee benefits. Your sources list: no company health insurance, no retirement matching, no workers' comp, no unemployment. All the financial admin, especially taxes, falls on you. You have to manage your money, maybe find your own health insurance if Medicare or retirement plans don't cover you fully.
Let's talk taxes for 1099s. What do your sources say is critical to know?
This is super important. As a 1099, you pay both the employee and the employer's share of Social Security and Medicare. That's the self-employment tax. It effectively increases your tax rate compared to a W-2 job. And crucially, no taxes are withheld automatically. You absolutely must set aside money from every payment. And pay estimated federal taxes yourself quarterly to the IRS.
So being proactive is non-negotiable.
Imperative, according to the sources. If you don't plan and pay those quarterly estimates, you'll face penalties and interest. You're managing small business taxes. Your sources strongly recommend caps and all getting advice from a tax professional. Someone experienced with 1099 income, and especially RV-related deductions. Setting up a separate savings account just for tax money is also a really smart practical tip mentioned.
Are there deductions RVs can take that might help? Your sources mentioned some.
Yes, potentially. This is where the RV might become a business asset for tax purposes. If it's your primary mobile workspace at the gate site, some expenses might be deductible. Things like depreciation on the RV, maybe fuel and maintenance related to business use, part of insurance and registration. If you have a dedicated space exclusively for work in the RV, maybe home office deduction. Mileage to and from temporary job sites under a year could also be deductible.
And these deductions help offset that higher self-employment tax burden.
They can, yes, by lowering your taxable income, turns the RV into a potential tax advantage. But your sources are crystal clear. You need meticulous records, fuel logs, maintenance receipts, insurance bill, everything. And again, absolutely talk to a tax pro to get it right, separating personal versus business use correctly. Don't guess.
You mentioned your Texas domicile earlier.
Yeah.
How does that play into this?
It's a huge plus, highlighted in your material. Texas has no state income tax.
Right.
No inheritance tax, no estate tax either. For a 1099 contractor, that's a massive financial benefit. All your gate guarding income plus pensions, 401k money, Social Security investments, none of it gets taxed at the state level in Texas.
That's a significant long-term advantage.
It really is. Your Texas domicile is already optimized for this kind of income. Plus, your sources note that as sole proprietors, which most individual contractors are, you generally aren't subject to the Texas franchise tax either. Another layer of complexity removed.
Okay, shifting to the job market. How often do assignments come up? What kind of availability do companies want?
Assignments are usually called short-term, typically 30 to 90 days. Most require a minimum 30-day commitment per site. It's fluid, though. Could be 90 days solid, could be just 5 days here, then move. Depends on the client's needs. Your sources suggest you probably need to signal you're available for at least 1-2 months when you're looking for work.
So it's not like finding a spot and settling in for years.
No, definitely not. You have to be comfortable with moving, sometimes frequently, every few weeks or months, and comfortable with the uncertainty of lining up the next gig. It fits that open road, open mind, flexible attitude J&G looks for.
Is there seasonality to it?
Yes, very much so. Less demand in winter, apparently. Peak season is the warmer months, spring, summer, fall, especially in South Texas with the energy activity. J&G, for instance, actively recruits for their summer season, May through September. You can kind of see it as an opportunity, though. Work hard, earn good money during peak season, then use those savings to fund travel or bridge the gap during the slower off-season, a work hard, play hard cycle.
What about handling the off-season? Any strategies mentioned?
Yeah, taking planned travel breaks using savings is common. Or finding other seasonal work camping, campground host, beet harvest, Amazon Camper Force came up. Or maybe developing an online side business you can do from the RV anytime. Planning finances for that winter dip is key.
Can you take breaks during an assignment if something comes up?
It sounds like companies are often willing to accommodate planned time off if you give them advance notice, like needing a week for a family thing or an appointment.
So communication is vital there.
Imperative was the word used in your material. Talking to the company about your plans, how long you intend to stay, when you might need a break. It's not total freedom, it's a negotiation. Knowing their policies, having a good relationship with dispatch seems important. Geographically, yeah, most of the focus seems to be West and South Texas energy areas. But J&G also lists New Mexico, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arizona, Arkansas, even West Virginia. Guard 1 seems more Texas-focused.
Being Texas-based already is an advantage for you then, minimizing travel between jobs.
For sure. Less driving, less fuel cost, though being open to nearby states might offer more consistent work or maybe better pay sometimes, depending on demand.
Okay, let's zoom in on the companies you specifically asked about. J&G Security and Guard 1 Security. What did your sources tell you?
All right, J&G Security. Texas HQ, but work in other states too. They specialize in mobile security, using independent contractors for remote sites. What really stands out in your notes is how much they seem to understand and support the RV lifestyle. Apparently, they even have full-time RVers working for them, like in recruiting. The work camper testimonials you found for J&G were overwhelmingly positive. Things like great communication, quick equipment support, helpful people, reliable pay. Some called them a game changer for RV life. And they actively recruit couples, especially for summer.
Okay, and Guard 1 Security Services.
Houston-based, been around since '95. They also hire work campers for gate guarding. Your material suggested they might target a profile like retired military or law enforcement, corrections officers, maybe people with oil gas experience. They talk about providing a manpower and life support trailer and a guard shelter. Your sources did caution about general online reviews for Guard One, saying the testimonials on their site weren't as specific to the RV gate guarding experience as the J&G ones you found. So just based on your info, J&G seems to have a company culture perhaps more overtly tuned into the full-time RVer experience. Guard One hires work campers, but their public face seems a bit less focused specifically on that niche, maybe more general security.
What about specific requirements for RV teams wanting to work for them?
General stuff listed includes 18 plus D, having the state security license, passing background drug tests, often paid by you initially, being physically fit for the conditions, self-sufficient, adaptable.
Any J&G specifics?
Yes, your notes mention J&G prefers teams who've already lived together in an RV or tiny home for at least 6 months. They want that proven cohabitation experience. You must own your RV and have a separate tow vehicle. Your Jayco and Explorer fit perfectly. Valid US ID, bank account for direct deposit. And importantly, they expect you to arrive with your own internet solution ready to go. Starlink is mentioned often. They want that open road, open mind flexibility. And good news, most domestic pets seem okay. Guard One's questionnaire, from your notes, asks similar things. License status, prior relevant experience, military, LEO, oil gas, gate guard, team availability, RV details, your make model like your '08 Jayco, pets, location preferences. They also check tech skills using computers, iPads, smartphones, even Excel for invoicing, plus fitness for duty and working in extreme weather.
It definitely sounds like your background, experienced RVers, debt-free, owning your rig lines up really well, especially with J&G's desire for that prior RV living experience.
Yeah, your profile looks strong on paper based on these requirements. Looking again at amenities provided, what's common? The big ones, consistently mentioned in your sources. Free RV site, full hookups, water, power generator, fuel, waste honey wagon, trash, mail delivery. Also, standards seem to be security lights, a company iPad for logging, and the required uniforms. Guard One specifically mentioned that manpower and life support trailer and guard shelter, which could be extra perks.
That consistent provision of hookups and utilities really does seem like the cool benefit, taking a lot of hassle and cost off your plate.
Absolutely. It handles the basic infrastructure, which is huge in remote spots, reduces stress, saves money directly. As for applying, your sources suggest it's pretty straightforward. Apply online usually. Background checks, fingerprints, drug tests are standard, often happen quickly. Companies like J&G apparently help guide you through the Texas license process. Online course, uploads, prints. Onboarding can be fast. One note said someone was on a gate getting paid just 2 days after finishing prep. Usually just a quick, 20-minute orientation when you get to the first site. Suggests they knew teams.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Based on everything in your sources, what are the key takeaways and maybe next steps for you?
Well, the big picture from your material is pretty clear. For your specific situation, retired, debt-free, Texas RV couple gate guarding looks like a genuinely unique, financially attractive work camping option. Now, practical advice from the sources. First, really assess compatibility as a team. Talk honestly about that 24/7 on-call life, the split shifts, the downtime, the separate errands, strong relationship, good communication. Your sources say these are absolutely essential. Second, RV preparedness. Make sure that 2008 Jayco and the 2010 Explorer are in tip-top shape. Remote locations are no place for breakdowns. Have a good maintenance plan and a repair fund ready.
And the gear.
Yes, prioritize essential gear. Investing in those driveway alarms and reliable internet like Starlink, your sources frame these as crucial for efficiency and just making life easier and safer in isolation. Also, cultivate self-sufficiency. Have hobbies, activities, things to do independently during quiet times to avoid boredom. And finally, environmental awareness. Know what you're getting into with Texas weather heat, cold, humidity, dust, and the local critters. Be prepared. For staying sane and healthy out there, your sources emphasize communication with the company is vital. Hydration and health are non-negotiable, especially in the heat. Use your internet for social connection to fight isolation. And try to establish some kind of routine for shifts, sleep, meals, activities to give structure to the day. Financially, the critical advice from your sources. 1. Consult a tax professional, non-negotiable. Find someone good with 1099s, RV deductions, self-employment tax. 2. Plan for estimated taxes. Set money aside from every check for those quarterly federal payments. Avoid penalties. 3. Use that budgeting framework from your notes, the $1,050, $2,165 monthly estimate, to track your actual spending and maximize savings. And 4. Keep leveraging your debt-free status. That's your superpower here. Almost all income can go to savings or travel goals without the stress of big payments.
So what are the immediate next steps if you want to explore this further?
The sources suggest direct company contact. Call J&G and Guard One. Talk to recruiters. Ask about current openings, couple requirements, time off policies, assignment flexibility. Get specifics. Explore the WorkCamper community online. WorkCamper news, forums, Facebook groups for gate guards. Great places for job leads and real-world advice. And consider legal financial counsel. Maybe a financial planner to see how this income fits your overall retirement plan. And definitely that tax pro.
Okay, quite a deep dive into your sources on RV gate guarding. We've looked at the duties, the unique 24/7 aspect, that huge financial perk of free hookups, the pros and cons specifically for a couple like you. We've dug into startup costs, leveraging your debt-free status, the whole 1099 tax situation, job availability, and those key companies, J&G and Guard One.
Yeah, and the picture that really emerges from your material is that for you retired, debt-free Texas RVers, this path offers a serious shot at significant savings and financial stability, all while living the RV life you enjoy. It's definitely got challenges. You need to be flexible, self-reliant, and communicate constantly as a couple. But the financial upside described in your sources is pretty compelling.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on, something that came up between the lines. If your home is also your workplace, and it's literally tethered to a gate, often in the middle of nowhere, how does that change what freedom means in your retirement journey?
It's a really interesting question raised by this lifestyle described in your sources, something to really reflect on as you decide if it's the right fit.
Definitely a lot to think about. We hope this deep dive using your own sources has helped clarify things. Keep exploring.